What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Lexi. Thank you for joining me for this video. And if you are not new here, thank you for rejoining and being a part of the squad. Got some people that comment religiously on all my photos, and just know that it does not go unnoticed. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. So in today's video, I'm really excited because back in the day, I say back in the day, 2 years ago-ish, a little less than 2 years ago, when I started my YouTube channel, I was in the middle of a contest prep for my 2021 shows, and I randomly decided to make a video called Shit They Don't Tell You About Bikini Prep. And to my disbelief, it still is to this day the most viewed video I have ever put out on YouTube. So I wanted to go ahead, and while I am in prep now for 2023, I thought it'd be cool to revisit this topic and to basically do an updated Shit They Don't Tell You About Bikini Prep. I am in the depths of prep right now. Things are getting a little tough, and so I'm feeling all the prep feels, and I figured I would revisit this topic and tell you guys my top 10 things that I would deem as shit they don't tell you about bikini prep. So basically, I'm gonna talk to you guys about all of the raw, the real, the things that they just, like, I say they, like, that most competitors, I feel like, don't talk about. The less glamorous side of prep, but also some of the funny things that happen in prep. So without further ado, I've got a list of 10 things, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. Please, 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 if you do enjoy this video, share it. I would love for as many competitors to see it as possible. And if there's anything I say in this video in particular that resonates with you or that you relate to, comment below. I would love to hear your guys' insights. So number one is the first thing, and I feel like I'm dealing with this the most right now, is you may find that you get what I like to call diet face, meaning that your face gets a little bit smaller in prep. Specifically, I know for me, you guys may have been able to tell by the past, couple of months as my videos have progressed, my face has looked a little different. When I prep and when I lose body fat, sometimes it does come from my cheeks, and you can't always control that. I think a lot of competitors do experience this to an extent. Not everyone does, but that is something I feel like they don't always tell you about bikini prep, is that your face may change a little bit, cheeks may get a little hollow, and just look a little different, have a smaller face. So that is shit they don't tell you, number one. That was kind of a funny one. Now, number two is actually something that a lot of people commented and told me they experience in prep. I did put a little question box up on my Instagram just asking you guys for some of the things like that you would deem shit they don't tell you about bikini prep. And a lot of you guys told me, and I would agree with this, is that you are always cold, which definitely makes sense as you are losing body fat. Typically, you're going to just have a hard time staying warm. That's why I think it can be really helpful to prep in the summer, because that's not as big of an issue. I can't honestly imagine prepping in the winter and living in a cold state. I feel like I would be miserable. I always joke that in prep I save a lot on my electric bill because I don't have to, make my apartment as cold. But I do find that in prep, as you do lose body fat, you do tend to just have a harder time staying warm. You may feel like you have to bundle up all the time. You may feel like you're always cold if you're, if you work in an office building where it's like the AC is always cranked. So that is shit they don't tell you about bikini prep. And number two, you may be team always cold. In fact, my stepmom back in the day got me a sweatshirt that said, "I am so freaking cold." And that basically explains my life all the time, but more specifically in prep. Okay, so number three, and if you guys see me looking down, I'm just looking at a list. Number three is going to be, it is really hard, especially when you get in the depths of prep and you are lower in carbs, and you are really pushing. I find it particularly really hard to get a pump in the gym. Specifically, I can use today as an example. I went into the gym, it was glutes and shoulders day for me, and I could not get a pump to save my life. And specifically why that is just because I'm lower in carbs right now, and it makes it really, really hard for your muscles to actually get an effective pump. So I find that that's something a lot of us struggle with in prep as we do get to the depths. When you are depleted, you don't have a lot of carbs in your system, it is a lot harder to get out an effective pump. And therefore that kind of goes hand in hand with another thing I want to discuss, is that workouts definitely do get tough at the end of prep. For me, I've enjoyed my workouts up until like right now. I am struggling a little bit. I mean, of course I have my days. However, workouts are a little tough right now. It's not like I'm going into the gym and like super excited to rock it out. Like it's kind of like I'm just going in, getting the workout in and then getting out. Like I just kind of find that that's how I am right now because I am in the depths of prep. Again, I don't feel like that doesn't happen the whole prep. I do think it tends to happen a little bit more frequently at the end of prep when you are pushing pretty hard, especially when cardio is really high. I think that has a lot to do with why workouts are not as enjoyable for me right now, is because cardio is very high and that's taking up a lot of my energy. So that is shit they don't tell you about bikini prep number 3. Now, without further ado, number 4, kind of a two-part thing here, is going to be, you may feel really small. So for me in particular, when I get close to a show, I tend to feel really small and I feel kind of like not like an athlete. And so a lot of times that has to do with when you are depleting, you don't have a lot of carbs in your system, your muscles are very flat, right? So it's not until you start carbing up for a show, if that's the approach you take, that your muscle bellies get a little bit fuller and then you actually look like you have muscle. For me, sometimes I'm like, oh, I look so small. And I feel like a lot of competitors do go through that kind of mind game as they get close to their show, thinking like, oh my God, I have no muscle, I'm super small, when really you're just really, really lean and depleted of carbs, therefore you don't have really anything kind of like filling out those muscle bellies, right? And that kind of goes hand in hand with, I feel like in contest prep, it is very normal to not feel like you are lean enough, right? I just talked about how sometimes we feel like we're too small, but sometimes I also feel like it could be the next day, like one day you feel super small, and then the next day you may feel like, oh, I'm not lean enough. I feel like those are two very common things that you experience as a competitor as you get closer to your show. So that is shit they don't tell you, number 4. So now, number 5 is going to be super, super prevalent to me right now, and I think every competitor experiences this, whether they want to admit it or not, is going to be that you will get prep, what I call prep goggles, meaning that you do not see yourself the way you actually look. You see yourself very subjectively. You kind of, I like to explain it as like you're wearing glasses that are foggy. You don't see things clearly, and that happens as you get leaner and leaner. It's really funny because I look back at my prep pictures in 2021 and I was tiny, except at the time I didn't realize how small I was. And I feel like that's how prep kind of plays mind games with us, is we look at ourselves so freaking much that we don't realize how small and lean we actually are, right? And that's why I always stress the importance of having a coach, just for the standpoint of like having a second eye. As a coach myself, yeah, could I prep myself? I probably could. I know what to do. However, it really helps having a coach to give me a second eye, because I know I don't see myself the way other people see me. I have very, like I said, foggy goggles, prep goggles, whatever you want to call them. So that is shit they don't tell you, number 5. We are halfway there. So I've got 5 more for you guys. So without further ado, number 6 shit they don't tell you about bikini prep is going to be, so just how I talked about prep goggles, now I'm going to pivot and talk about prep brain, meaning that sometimes in prep, I don't feel like this happens to everybody. So, don't get completely worried that this may happen to you if you've never prepped before. And even if it does, I don't personally feel like it's gonna, it hinders your ability to be a human. But prep brain, meaning sometimes you just you can't think straight, or you forget things really easily. Like you forget little stupid things really easily. Like I said, I don't think it's something to freak out about. Like if you're in school or you work a full-time job, which I think most of us are either or, don't panic thinking like, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to be a student, or I'm not gonna be able to do my full-time job. Because believe me, I've been in both shoes. I've been a full-time student when prepping, and I've also had a full-time job while prepping, and it's never gotten in the way of either of those. However, when I say prep brain, I feel like sometimes I'll find myself doing like silly little things. Like for example, the other day I was looking for my salt shaker. I'm like, where is my salt? Looking in my pantry, and what do you know? I open up my fridge and find my salt shaker in my fridge. Like little things like that. I know when I prepped for the first time ever, I remember accidentally putting my food scale in the microwave. I was like heating up a tortilla or something, and I put the tortilla was on top of my food scale, and I put it in the microwave. So that was like a little silly thing, that I did. So prep brain, I feel like, is a real thing. Sometimes you may find yourself doing like little silly things, or you may just find that you're a little extra forgetful. Again, I don't feel like this is something that happens to necessarily everybody, but it's something I think a lot of competitors can agree will happen at least at one point in your prep. So that's shit they don't tell you, number 6. Now, moving along to number 7. So I personally find for me that prep comes in waves. And what I mean by that is, you know, I'm either having a really, really super low day or a super, super high day. Like, I don't feel like there's a whole lot of in between. There's no kind of just like right in the midline, like mediocre days. Like, it is either a really tough day or a really good day. And part of me thinks that why that is because when you have a really, really tough day, sometimes anything better than that feels like it's an amazing day, right? So I always say the tough days are there for a reason. They're there to make you appreciate the good days that much more. And I think that's why I feel like there isn't a huge like midline or just kind of like okay days. There's either really bad days or really good days. But I know for me personally, I may have a day where I wake up and I feel like absolute garbage and my energy is just super low all day. I'm super food focused. I'm super hungry. And then the next day could be the complete opposite. Same with like, I could have a day where I wake up and feel completely awful about myself. And then the next day could be the complete opposite. So I do feel like prep comes in a lot of waves like that. There's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows. I don't know if you guys would agree with that. If you do, comment below, but for me, that is shit they don't tell you about bikini prep number 7. So we've got 3 more. So number 8 is going to be that you may find that you are a little bit more irritable or emotional in prep. I know that for me, there sometimes are days where I come home after a long day and I'm like, thank goodness I'm not coming home to anybody. Like, I know that sounds so sad. I live alone, but some days I'm just like so grateful that I get to come home and there's nobody there, because sometimes I get a little irritable and I don't want to take that out on somebody when they don't deserve it, right? And I think a lot of competitors can relate. Sometimes when you are just having a day, you know, low carb, high cardio, you know, someone does something or something happens and you're just like, like super irritable. I think we can all relate that that happens at one point in time. Also, being extra emotional. I do feel like that can happen in prep as well. Maybe not everybody experiences this, but I know sometimes I am a little bit more like in my feels about certain things, and just certain things people do can make me a little bit like more emotional than if I weren't in prep. So irritability and extra emotions is definitely what I would deem shit they don't tell you about bikini prep number 8. So we are down to the top 2 things. So number 9 is kind of a silly one, and I was actually thinking about this yesterday because my cardio just got bumped up by a pretty decent amount. I am currently doing a lot of cardio, we'll put it that way, and I split my cardio up so I don't do it in one go around because for my mental sink, I cannot stay on a machine for that long. But what I find happens is that I will do like my first round of cardio in the morning, I'm super sweaty, and then of course I go to work and I don't wear that same outfit, obviously. I mean, I could, but that's really gross. So I change, and then I'm on to outfit number 2, and then I have to change again because I gotta go to the gym and do my second round of cardio. So essentially, I'm wearing like 3 different things throughout the day. And so shit they don't tell you about bikini prep number 9 is that your laundry is probably going to stack up a lot. You're gonna have a lot more laundry to do because, like I said, I am going through lots of workout clothes throughout the day when I've got a lot of cardio because I sweat. I'm not obviously gonna keep my clothing on that's all sweaty on all day. That would be gross. So shit they don't tell you about bikini prep number 9 is that you may have to prepare for a little bit more laundry than normal. So just FYI. So now, without further ado, that leads me to the very last shit they don't tell you about bikini prep number 10. And on a little bit more of a serious note, you guys, I wanted to save this one for last, just because I do feel like it is, it's a good message and I think it's important. I'm going to share my personal experience with it, and it is that I feel like truly with every prep I've been through, there is going to be a point in time or a day or a few days where you flat out just feel like giving up, and you flat out just ask yourself, like, why am I even doing this? Like, what, you know, you question yourself, you try to convince yourself, oh my God, I'm not good enough, I shouldn't be doing this, like, why am I even doing this? Maybe I should just quit. There is probably going to be at least one day in your contest prep where you have those thoughts. And I encourage you, and this is what I encourage not only myself, but my clients to do, is to never act in the moment or in that emotional state, right? A lot of times we have very intense emotions that may hit us out of the blue one day, and it makes us think all of these irrational thoughts like, oh, maybe I should just stop prep, or maybe I'm not good enough and I should just, what am I even doing this for? But if you act in the moment, you act in that moment of that emotion, you are likely going to regret that decision. So I always say it's normal to feel that way at least once in prep, right? After all, prep is hard AF. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Also, if it was easy, the rewarding feeling that you get of stepping on stage would not be as rewarding, right? So look at it that way and know that it is normal to have thoughts of self-doubt at one point in time, maybe multiple times, to have feelings of like, why am I even doing this? Am I even cut out for it? Maybe I should just quit. You are going to have periods of time like that, and that is okay. That is normal. But I encourage you, don't just throw it all the way within that one day in the moment, right? Because 9 times out of 10, if you act in the moment and you truly decide to give up when things get tough, you are going to regret it. You really will regret it. So that wraps up my Should They Don't Tell You About Bikini Prep, my 2023 edition. Like I said, I did a 2021 edition, so I will link that below if you want to go back and watch it. But I thought it'd just be cool to revisit and do it again. I know that I did talk about some of the same things in my old video. However, I just wanted a more updated one now that I am in prep again. And getting, pretty deep into it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was entertaining. If for those of you doing cardio, shout out to you guys. Hopefully this made your cardio a little bit more enjoyable. I know I have a lot of people that watch my channel while they're doing their cardio. Comment below if any of these resonated with you or if you can really relate to anyone in particular. And like I said at the beginning, do me a favor, give this video a thumbs up. Please, please, please share it if you liked it. That would really help and help my channel to grow, and I would really appreciate it. And I hope that wherever you guys are at in the world, that you have a great rest of your day.